Howdy, Kanaju here. Welcome to the Deep Space Travel Break, your source for No Man's Sky news, reviews, discussions, probably not leaks because I'm not a big fan of spoiling stuff, but you get the idea, No Man's Sky things. And welcome to the first episode of 2022. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I don't have like an outline in front of me or a little script. I don't have a sponsor. I don't have a guest. What I do have are opinions. So today I thought it would be a lot of fun to talk about the top moments, my best, what I would say, best and worst No Man's Sky moments of 2021. Just kind of like look back at last year and see how it fared as far as updates and content and the community and everything goes. So before that, let me get into a little housekeeping. Uploads have been a little sporadic lately, and part of that was I was out of the country for a little bit last month, and with the holidays, work gets really busy. I'm also getting ready to move into my first house, which is really cool. So, life is crazy right now, and without No Man's Sky releasing anything, new lately, I've been sort of taking maybe 2 weeks between each video instead of 1 week. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. It's just a little bit slow at the moment. But thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the show. It's good to be back in 2022. So without further ado, let's get into the main topic, which is, best and worst moments of 2021. So while I don't have an outline today, I do kind of have like a little list of best and worst moments. So I guess, I have them numbered here, but I'm not really sure if these are accurate, but we're going to go with this. So I'm going to start with, I have more best moments than worst moments, which, I'm a pretty positive guy, but I figure I'd be a little bit, more balanced and go with the good and the bad. So let's start with number 7, best moment of 2021, which was adopting your first companion. I remember the Companions update came out and I wasn't really excited at all. And I don't think I might have adopted one companion during that time, but it wasn't until it wasn't until the first expedition that I actually adopted a companion and got to play with the features. And it's pretty cool, right? You have like a procedural name, you get to see their personality, you're feeding them, you're customizing them. It's really cool. So that I would say that's one of the best moments of 2021, which was adopting your first companion. So number 6. Ooh, actually, I might put this higher up. No, I'll put it here. Best moment was fighting the Titan worm spawns in Expedition 4. So in Expedition 4 Emergence, you're basically like trying to take on this infestation of Titan worms in the galaxy. And they added this new enemy type, which are pretty much like these like worm larvae, which sound really small, but they're huge. They're like the biggest, not quite the biggest enemy type in the game, but one of the bigger ones. And they're so epic. They're like drooling like acid. They pop out of the ground and surprise you. They're really well animated. And they're just such a cool addition to the game that I wish were like available outside the expedition. But it was just one of the coolest things in 2021 and in No Man's Sky in general. All right, so now we are, I have 5 worst moments that I have listed here. It's now number 5, the worst moments of 2021. We have the Frontiers patch breaking everything that was working yesterday. By that, I mean, post Frontiers, No Man's Sky, Hello Games, they're always like patching things after a big update. But there was a point where like I had my settlement, it was completely built. I had built a couple of additional things within it using, the base building, and it was all perfect. It was right where I wanted it. I was very happy. And then they released a patch that moved all of the buildings. And actually it got rid of one of my buildings. So I had one less building in my settlement and it moved the rest of them. So all the stuff I had built was now in the wrong place. On top of that, it didn't move the grass. So then there was like grass intersecting with things. And then, they would patch one thing, but now the NPCs don't know how to sit in chairs, so they're floating, they're getting stuck in walls. So there was this period where, like, after every patch, it was breaking something new. And I think that's evidenced in a couple of my videos at the time where things were just broken. But eventually, they did iron everything out, and where it is right now, it works really well. But that was one of the most annoying parts of that time, was that every patch, it would like fix one thing and then break another. Okay, but number 5 best moments. We'll go worst, then we'll go best, right? Got to end on a positive note. Number 5, Sean tweeting an emoji. It's just, I know this isn't directly in the game, but it's exciting every time he tweets just like one emoji, and people start just speculating, coming up with ideas. We never get it right. We never do. We're always wrong. The community always gets it wrong. But it's still fun to see. It's a lot of fun to take part in. And he does it consistently enough that when he does that, it's confirmation for us fans that, okay, we're about to get an update. We're about to get new content. So it's just really exciting. All right. So number 4, worst moments. Wasting time with RNG and expeditions. And this covers multiple expeditions. With Expedition 1, there were a lot of things that required like a large amount of objectives to be completed, or tasks, find 60 of this, do 40 of that. And so a lot of that was RNG based. And it was very similar even like in Expedition 3, where you had to chart 4 unknown waypoints, but then you're all on the same planet. So like me, the way I was playing it was I was trying to complete everything, not in order, but like before leaving the planet. So the only thing after I left the planet was to get to the final rendezvous. And that was a pain in the butt. But even things like in Expedition 4, where you had to find ancient bones, I had the hardest time finding a planet with ancient bones. I eventually realized, hey, the first planet had some, and I went back to that one. But I wasted a lot of time, like 40 minutes. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I actually completed that expedition in like 4 hours or something. So 40 minutes of that was looking for a planet with ancient bones, warping from system to system. So, RNG, that's nothing new to the game, and that is part of the charm of the game. But when it comes to expeditions, it is kind of annoying, because expeditions in a sense feel more like guided tours, you know what I mean? You're doing specific things. So then when it asks you to do something that's just like completely RNG based, it's a little annoying if you're in a rush, which I was at the time because I was trying to make a video. But it's just an annoyance. So number 4 best moments, we have seeing a Titan worm infested planet. And in particular, I mean, when you first start up Expedition 4 Emergence. And for me, it was cinematic, because I start, right, and the ground's shaking. And it's like, Emergence, it's got the logo pop up or whatever. And you just see arcing across the landscape, right, a giant Titan worm. And these guys are usually pretty rare to see in the game. But here you can see, multiple at a time. They're crossing mountains. They're all around you. And it's such a cool experience, because it really transforms a planet. It feels like it's a unique place in the universe. And the scale of it, especially with the new updated sandworms, it's just so cool. So, that's definitely one of the best moments of 2021. All right. Let's see. Number 3, worst moments. Not getting a building opportunity in your settlement. Ooh. Okay, so this is specifically referring to that first week after Frontiers released. Nowadays, you get a new build opportunity or a new interaction in your settlement every couple hours, right? And there's a timer that tells you how long, and then you kind of know it's coming. But when it first released, the timers were horrible. So basically, it was once every 24 hours you'd get an interaction. So if you're trying to build up your settlement, you get up in the morning, new build opportunity, great. And then you spend the rest of the day working on that one building opportunity. And so like every 3 hours, you're coming back and putting in new materials. And I actually did. I left my game on for hours that weekend, just trying to build something. And, I would check like every 8 hours or whatever the thing was. And then like the next day, you're like finally ready. Here, give me another building opportunity. oh, it's a visitor, right? And then that's it. For the rest of the day, you cannot make any progress on your settlement whatsoever. And that was just a pain in the ass. I mean, so much wasted time just waiting. You know what I mean? There was nothing you could do in gameplay to speed it up. You might be, this rich tycoon with billions of units, and you couldn't even build a shack. You know what I mean? It was really frustrating. Luckily, they patched it so that you get those opportunities more frequently now. But man, that first week was rough. It was really slow. So that was one of the worst parts of 2021. Number 3 best moment, though, completing expedition. So I remember the first expedition was a real grind. It took me and my friend a couple weeks to beat, or maybe it was just a week. It was in the second week that we beat it, something like that. But completing it, getting the patch, getting the title, getting the little decal, it's such a cool feeling to complete it, to know it's done, and then to go back to your main save and you have like these rewards like the golden vector, things like that. And it's like, yeah, I did it. You feel like you're part of like an exclusive club, which is, I know what they're kind of going for. But like then for me too, as like a base builder, it's nice to be able to decorate my base with like kind of like trophies from the expedition, right? You have the stickers. Sometimes they give you like a little statue, or like the first one gave you a banner you could add. So it really did feel like these were adventures you'd gone on, and these were like trophies you'd won from those adventures. And it was a really good feeling. It was something I really enjoyed, and it's really satisfying to complete an expedition. Always checking off all those little tasks, getting the patches. It's just a satisfying experience. So one of the best moments of 2021. All right, number 2, worst moment. Trying to find a black hole in Expedition 1, the original version. So in Expedition 1, one of the requirements was to find a black hole, I believe. And that sounds really easy, right? You just talk to Polo and he'll give you the coordinates. Except it was bugged. And Polo would not give you coordinates to a black hole at all. So you had to manually find them for a time. I think they eventually patched it. But me and my friend, both of our games were bugged so that we had to manually find black holes. And the thing was, like, we tried everything to trigger it. We tried selecting different quests. We tried doing different things. And we could not get Polo to give us black hole coordinates. So what ended up happening was, I was like, oh, I'll come back to this later. My friend ended up watching a YouTube video, I believe. And in the YouTube video, the guy's like, oh, here's a black hole. But of course, the way No Man's Sky's galactic map works, you can't just like type in the name of a system or coordinates and then it like gives you a route to it. No, he had to like look at the guy's location based on like one of the rendezvous and then go into the game and find that same star just by manually looking around. So then he was able to find it, and then I was able to join his game, and we were able to complete that milestone. But boy, howdy, was it a pain in the ass. So that was definitely one of the, talk about RNG, that was one of the worst experiences of the expeditions in 2021. But now we get to one of the best moments of 2021, which is actually watching your settlement grow. So it was frustrating as settlements were at the beginning. It was so cool to see them grow and expand, to see like new buildings, procedural architecture, right? So these are buildings that are unique to your settlement, and they've got, goofy terraces. They have staircases that go up and down without connecting to anything. They have, desks and tables directly in front of doors, and it's completely nonsensical. And it's so cool to just see your little cityscape grow, because you're not entirely sure how big it's going to get. So for one of my videos, I showed like 3 fully built out settlements. And it was so cool because I learned a lot about, that there really are different sizes of settlements. The first settlement I got was actually the smallest of the 3. And so I thought that was what all settlements look like. But no, it's like you never really know how big it's going to be until it's fully built out, which I mean is a little annoying. But it's just cool to see those things expand. You get more citizens, you see the happiness go up. You go from negative income to positive income. It's just really satisfying to see it grow and eventually like mature into like not just like a little village, but it feels like a town, almost a city. And that was one of the coolest things of 2021. All right, so now we're here at number one, worst moment of 2021. I mean, and obviously this is all subjective. Like I said, I don't know if I got this order right. Let me know in the comments below if you had an even worse experience, because I'm sure some of you did. But for me, the worst experience I had playing No Man's Sky last year was Expedition 3, the Cartographer's Expedition. And not the expedition itself, that was actually kind of fun. But the game crashed constantly. And I was on PS5, so I had a solid frame rate, and it would just crash constantly. And so there were certain objectives I redid 4 or 5 times. And you might say, well, why didn't you save more frequently? But that's the issue. The game would crash upon saving. So if I were to get out of my ship, the game would... Actually, that was the only thing that didn't crash it. So if I were to use a waypoint, it would crash the game. If I were to use a save beacon, it would crash the game. Or a save point, it would crash the game. So the only way to save that didn't crash my game was to get in and out of my ship. But the problem with that was that obviously, because my ship doesn't function, I needed to get across the landscape with the vehicle and then come back to my ship in order to save progress. Which sounds easy enough, except it also crashed, just in the middle of things, in between save points. So it would crash if you tried to save your progress. It would crash if you were just crossing the landscape. Crash if you teleported. And it was inconsistent. Sometimes it would also crash if you tried to upload your base, which was another way that usually worked. And so I redid so many things so many times. It was just really frustrating. Sometimes I would lose like 30 minutes of progress at a time. They eventually patched it, but I was playing day one and it was just a horrible experience. And I know a lot of other people had the same issue where it was just crashing and crashing and crashing. So I had never had that experience on PS5. I mean, I had a little bit on PS4 during like maybe 2016, but yeah, it was really bad. So that really ruined that expedition. I still enjoyed it, but it did put a damper on things. But, let me know what your worst experience of 2021 was in No Man's Sky. I think there's a helicopter going over. Give me a sec. Okay, I'm back. All right, so now after all that suspense, we're ready for the number one best moment of 2021. To be honest, it was pretty early in the year, but I could already tell this was going to be like one of the greatest moments in No Man's Sky history, period. And that is when the Normandy warps into the atmosphere during Expedition 2. Now, I know this might sound like an exaggeration, but I have been waiting for this moment for years. I'm not one of those people that likes to like point to the trailers and say, look at these missing features, yada, yada, yada. But one thing I always thought was cool was that in one of the trailers, you can see for a brief second in the background, there's like a freighter in the atmosphere, which you can kind of call your freighter into atmosphere, but not like too close to the ground. But the Normandy, it does a couple things. It warps into the atmosphere, and then you have the theme music playing, and it's super epic, right? But then on top of that, it also flies around in the atmosphere. You never see frigates or freighters, actually moving. They warp in, and then they're in a fixed point. But the Normandy actually, moves around, so you're like following it as you're talking to the onboard AI, and it is so cool. Because it just shows that they're using features that aren't used anywhere else in the game, and it shows that they do have the capacity to do this stuff. But it just looks so cool because we're so used to things being kind of static in No Man's Sky. The space station static, the freighters, the frigates, the bases, a lot of things are static. So then to see like such a large ship in atmosphere warp in and then like fly out of the atmosphere, I mean, it feels like almost like a cutscene scripted cinematic moment, and I absolutely loved it. So that's my number one moment of 2021. Let me know what yours is in the comments below. I know a lot of people enjoyed certain things more than others. But for me, that was just like the most cinematic, the most surprising moment of 2021 that I didn't see coming. So that was really cool. And yeah, that sums up my best and worst of 2021. Overall, I would say the year was, well, maybe like 1% disappointing. And I know that sounds really entitled because, it's all free updates. So I will state without any doubt, it was a good year for No Man's Sky, a very good year. But I would say it was slightly disappointing only because 2020 was an amazing year. It started with Living Ship. So you're getting, a space overhaul. You're getting a new ship type, a new quest line, all kinds of new stuff. Amazing, right? You're getting Desolation, our very first procedural dungeons, right? New activities, new trade opportunities, new building parts for all that. Incredibly, if you take a look at my all updates tier list that I put out at the end of the year, like I put, spoiler alert, I put Desolation in S tier because it really was that great. And then it was immediately followed up by Origins, which is possibly the best update of all time. It completely added new fauna, new flora. It added new biomes, new types of environmental assets. It added all kinds of new storms, new weather. I mean, I can't even cover everything that it added. So last year was an amazing year, or 2020 was. So then 2021, it gave us a lot of cool updates, right? We got companions, we got expeditions, prisms, frontiers. Actually, those were the only 4 updates. But the thing was, they weren't really content heavy, right? Companions did give us a new feature, but it didn't actually add any new fauna to the game. We were just playing with existing fauna, so it wasn't like new content per se. And then expeditions, similar thing, right? Yes, we have a new way to play the game, but the stuff we're playing is the same types of content. It wasn't until, I would say, Expedition 4 that like the expeditions themselves are bringing new content to the game, new enemies, new items, all kinds of stuff like that. So, other than the Normandy warping in, but that was Expedition 2. And then you get to, what was the next update? Prisms, which again, it did give us new caves, which if you've seen my Spelunking in Space series, I love. But overall, it was a graphics update, right? Screen space reflections. I think DLSS arrived with that, which was pretty cool. We have more refractions. Rain isn't just a sprite anymore. So, that was cool. But again, not any new gameplay content. It's just new graphical features. And then Frontiers, which it did give us, a base building update. And it did give us settlements on planets, which, again, I cannot overstate how cool procedural architecture is. But as far as gameplay goes, there wasn't anything necessarily new to do with the settlements. So it was a good year for No Man's Sky for sure, even a great year. But for it being like the 5-year anniversary, I think a lot of people were expecting like a big, not exploration overhaul, but just like new either story content, which we hadn't gotten since 2017, although Emergence did have some story. And even last year we had the weekend missions were tied into a big storyline, and people were expecting that to pay off in 2021, which again, it didn't. So, and then on top of that, I forgot, Prisms also added like the new space station interiors. So they had that new interface, and we were expecting one of the expeditions to pay that off too, with the little override key, and we never got that either. So overall, it was a good year, but I think a lot of people had, and I know this is a dangerous topic, but a lot of people had expectations that I think weren't necessarily met. And obviously, Sean Murray, the team, they never promise anything because they're smarter than that. They know if they make a promise and they don't keep it, they'll be held to pay. But, certain things are sort of implied. Like I said, the storyline from the missions didn't feel wrapped up. The override key was added to the game, but then they never gave us a functioning one in 2021. Things like that. So it was a good year, maybe a great year. Not as impressive as 2021 or as 2020, but I'm hoping 2022, I have a feeling it's going to be a good year, another good year. And the reason is I think at one point Expedition 3 got heavily pushed back from what I could tell. And it did seem like there was a bigger gap than they were intending. But maybe that, I mean, we don't know their original plans. Maybe that was always the plan. But it did seem like there was a bit of a, not less updates last year, but that there was a lot of things being pushed back. So it's possible that a big feature they were planning for last year for the anniversary might have gotten pushed back to 2022. And that's a dangerous way of thinking. Don't take my word for it. It's completely speculation. But even if that wasn't true, I think, they still say they're working on a ton of stuff for the game. We know they're working on other games that they haven't announced yet. And yeah, I'm excited for 2022. Let me know if you are in the comments below, if you think we're going to get, a big feature, or do you think support might be winding down? It's been over 5 years. Maybe they're getting tired of working on No Man's Sky. I don't know. I hope not. I think there's a lot of cool stuff to be added and expanded and even just deepened the existing systems. Like, my biggest hope is that we'll get deeper settlement gameplay. Like, I want the settlements to be more interactive and more unique and more useful to players, right? Since they're a huge time investment, but they don't really give you much in return. Because it's also a pain in the ass to have to collect like 50 items from the thing, and then it fills up your inventory, then you got to go sell them. But if you don't sell them all at once, then like it crashes the economy, so then you got to go to another system. So it's kind of difficult. But that's not important. Let me know what you're looking forward to, what you hope you'll see in 2022. And yeah, that's our podcast. Oh, before I go though, let me do a community highlight. So I'm just going to highlight this cool thing I saw on Twitter. This is at CapT Harpo, which is, Captain Harpo. And I just love these little, if you're watching the video, it's like artwork made in No Man's Sky. This one right here is my favorite. It's like a little scene with the astronaut, and right next to it's like a Jackson Pollock. I love creative use of building parts in No Man's Sky. I love when people try and create new things with them. And these are just some really great examples of that. So, give it a like on Twitter if you see it. And hopefully it'll inspire you to maybe create something new. At least hopefully it'll inspire me too, because I'm working on a little like expeditions museum. So maybe I'll do a tour of that soon. We'll see. But thanks again for your support. I'm glad to see y'all in 2022. It's good to be back. And stay safe out there. Until next time, bye.